I am starting the recording, and then yeah, I'll just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Okay.
Go. I'll keep you healed.
All right, I like the positioning so far. All right, so right off the bat, both abilities. I'm gonna talk more in depth about them. But first off, with the nade, might want to wait a second for them, like because here I'm assuming we're trying to go for an anti-nade because of
Yeah.
course neither tank is low. But we might want to wait until we actually like see them peek out because when you see the first people peek out, they're gonna have people behind them too, right? So you have time to react. The first people peeking out is kind of a sign that there's more people coming. So instead of just tossing it in there, we might want to wait until they've come out a little bit further, rather than just chucking it in. And then
Fair.
here, after ball slams, is a really really easy time to land asleep. So when he when he is in a slam animation, we see slamming, we know he's just going straight down. So all we have to do is just aim straight forwards and just press the sleep button here. Like we're pretty much aiming straight at where he's gonna be, right? If we just like keep going here, like he's pretty much there, right?
Yeah.
And had we sleep, he'd be slept now. We could like five orb him and kill him, and then that's an easy kill, right? So
Fair.
Ana's a pretty big. It kind of goes both ways. Ana's a pretty big counter to ball as long as she lands sleep, which is relatively easy as long as we're looking to hit it after he's already used his slam. So just we want to look to use it like that. So just both abilities there just whiffed a little bit. Or at least, sorry, we didn't use the sleep. Oh, I didn't mean to skip there.
I just used it and missed it.
Yep.
You're covered.
Okay, nice nade.
Take your medicine.
Okay, right now we're in some unfortunate positioning.
Yeah.
Nice sleep. And might want to. So right here we have a decision, right? We're half HP. If we kind of know that Bap's not alive right now, which we would know from watching kill feed by hearing the fact that Bap's dead, or looking around us and paying attention to our environment. So that's an awareness thing. We probably don't want to chuck in a nade. Instead, we want to be healing ourselves with this nade, right? And we could maybe even heal ourselves while also purpling the ball at the same time, right? So
All
that's a
right.
guaranteed heal and purple. Whereas here we just kind of chuck up the nade to help. Who we chuck it for? We chuck it up
Reinhardt.
to Reinhardt, right? Which I don't think it's actually like super necessary here. Like look how much health he has, and then
Right.
we can just normal heal him up, right? So that nade's not super necessary for the Ryan, and
Will help.
yeah, it gets a purple and a heal, but that purple and that heal is probably not as important as it is for you right now, because then there's a good chance you're gonna end up dying here, right? So death, and then
Yeah.
that death came from the fact that we misused. First off, we were just in bad positioning because we got booped off. Then we misused nade and weren't aware of our environment, which would have caused us to use nade better. So we just want to make sure we're paying attention.
Yeah.
I'm
All right.
not ready to
But
die
besides
yet.
that, ability usage and mechanics have
I will
seemed
keep
pretty
my eye
solid in
fully
how we're
charged. Get in there.
basically so far. I've liked that we're going for anti-nades and we're actually landing a lot of the things we're going for, so that's really good. So let's see how we're using our ult.
What you want to whip, get in there.
All right, so here we're kind of struggling to hit it on the
Get
tanks,
in there.
it
Yeah.
seems. Um, I think you probably could have just gone with it like right here. When they're about to push in, we don't need to like. We kind of just hold on to her for a
The
little too long. Like we could have
oh,
given it right here, right? What we're
really?
talking about? Yeah, because it lasts 6 seconds. He's gonna have it for quite a bit of time, and then that's what
Okay.
1 second before he's able to actually see people. Putting on the hog, it would be pretty decent here because he has his ultimate, right? So in this instance, I think we could just probably plop it on the hog here, and then we actually get booped away. Just look
Yeah.
for the sleep on the ball, right? Make sure paying attention to him because that just boops us out of the way, and when we could have slept him.
Get in there.
Okay, and then here, two different things. First off, we're running onto the open, so I don't know if this is going to be a thing that happens multiple times or not, but just for the moment, just keep in mind that this is bad positioning right here. When we're running onto the
That's
open,
fair.
that's going to get us killed, right? For the most part, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover. We can go more into depth if that
So
happens like a
should
second
I?
time.
Sorry.
Good.
So should I have been like in the doorway? Like where should
Yep.
I have?
Probably further back here. So if the
Oh, okay. Like
you
where the
so
back piece
yeah,
is.
like so back here, look how many people you can actually put out your line of sight. So cover, right? This is cover right here, right?
Yeah.
Anything that blocks people from being able to shoot at you. When we're
Mhm.
right here, we can have 1, 2, 3, 4 people shoot at us, and we're over here, right? Now we can actually make it so that just ball, right? Just ball
Yeah.
can see us. So that limits a lot of people being able to see us and shoot at us. And the other thing is, again, we don't self nade,
Get healed.
right? We toss it too far, so we want to make sure we're getting the self nades in.
Yeah.
Just keep in mind that is a very good thing to do, especially when you're low. But the big thing here is our positioning, and then self nade would only help you stay alive for a little bit longer, or after you're already in the bad positioning, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like in the last fight, we were already in the bad positioning because ball booped us. And we ran to point, which maybe we shouldn't have been standing on point. It might have been a better idea to just again walk backwards. So um, and then we just did nade ourselves, which again led to our
Yeah.
death, or at least I'm assuming we're dying. Yeah, we die. All right.
Mhm.
So actually, now I'm thinking about it, it did happen twice in a row. So why don't we go over it? So we're at 224. We'll just go into depth on positioning because I forgot that we did that in the first point as well, or the first fight. So we'll just go on here.
Never
So
stop fighting for what you
basically, when it
believe
comes to
in.
positioning, right? If we are standing right here, and right over there, we have 6 enemies. They're all shooting at us, right? This is gonna be positioning, by the way, that applies to every single character in the game. And pretty much most FPS games out there. If we're standing here, enemy team standing over there, they start shooting at us, and it takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover. Now, from
Yeah.
here, you can't get shot at. You can't shoot through solid objects. We're good. We're safe. But in that time it took us to walk here, we died, right? So therefore, bad positioning is the absence of cover, and good positioning is the usage of cover, because the difference there is that if we're right here, we can do most of the same stuff, and there's positioning everywhere. Like, even if we need to get closer, we can use something like that, right? But it takes us half a second to be on cover now. So there's a big difference between that 3 seconds and that half of a second, because
Right.
it means a lot more survivability, and you're gonna be able to keep yourself alive a lot longer. So then there's a lot of different types of positioning, right? We can use slopes, right? Puts us out of line of sight. We can use pillars, right? In between shots, when we're reloading, when we're low, when we're getting ulted at or shot at, right? We have corners that we can use. We have little random objects we find lying around. You can use the payload like that, right? You have the corner, doorway, or sorry, pillar, corner, doorway, right? Corner, right? All different types of cover. And on top of that, I actually like that we are on the high ground to begin, but all of high ground acts as natural positioning, or as natural cover. Sorry. We're up here, right? They can see
Yeah.
us. Now they can't see us. They can see us. Now they can't see us. He can see us. Now we can't see us. We do the same thing. Add in a crouch. Can't see us.
Right.
Right. Now on top of that, on high grounds, most characters can't get up to you, right? Like 2/3 of the characters in the game can't reach you unless they use the stairway, and the other ones that can need to use abilities, which just means now they're out of abilities, and then that means that there's extra survivability for you on high grounds. And then thirdly, you have a ton of visibility on high grounds. Like, you can see over here, over here, over here, over here, right? But we dropped to the low ground, and now we can't see over there. We can't see over there. We can't see any of the high ground, right? And we can't even see, like, over there. So we lose a lot of visibility when we're on low ground, so we gain a lot of visibility and angles when we're on high grounds, right? So that's just all different reasons why, or all different types of positioning, right? So just main point being, cover usage is good. Good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad
Yeah.
positioning is the absence of cover.
Fair.
All right. So we were on Nubani.
Traveling to Numbani, ready for battle.
All right. So we were right in
Die.
here. Yep.
Objective lost.
الامتحان يكرم المرء أو يهان.
Stop the payload.
You're going to live.
Okay, so far great mechanics. Not seeing any problem with just us hitting our normal regular shots.
I don't scope a lot. Is that like okay?
You're gonna want to scope, especially at longer distances, because that's gonna
Mhm.
allow you to hit your shots easier. But I mean, if you're a master at hitting your unscoped shots, there's technically no difference. But I would say that you're gonna have an easier time at longer ranges. And so far, I haven't seen us like we have been scoping in, like here we scope, right? And
Yeah.
this is an appropriate range to
You're going
scope,
to live.
right?
Okay.
You just might not want to be unscoping at that distance right now. That's fine. It's on a tank,
Yeah.
so if you're hitting shots, everything's fine.
Oh,
Good sleep.
you look
Notice
tired.
how we're kind of out in the open again, right? Whereas
Right. Yeah.
inside, right
Yeah.
side, cover, right side, even just being closer to the wall, right side, just means we're getting behind cover faster, but we're out in the open, and that means that we're a lot more susceptible to being shot at and dying.
Your healing.
Okay, and we die. Okay, so
Yeah.
deaths are bad. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
Very obvious,
Yeah.
right? When you die, you lose a ton of value, and I just want to emphasize the value because right now we're at a rate of one death a minute, and let's just hypothetically say that keeps up for the entire 21 minutes. Now there's actually going to be queue or times in between the rounds and whatnot while we're spawning. So let's say that we just take the down to like uh 18 minutes, right? We take 3 minutes out, right? We take that down to 18 minutes, right? Each death is 10 seconds of time where you're respawning, 10 seconds of time where you're walking back. So roughly 20 seconds per death where you are not just not existing and not participating, but also actively putting your team at a disadvantage because here the fight's
Yeah.
beginning and we're putting our team at a 5v6, right? So we're
Mhm.
actively having a negative influence, right? So 18 minutes, right, times 20, right? And then divide by 60 to know how many minutes we got. That means that in this game, if we kept up the current rate we're at, we would be basically not participating and having a big negative influence on our team for an entire 6 minutes straight, right?
Oh
Just
yeah.
just want to emphasize it's a big number, right? If we look to cut out three, like we could let's say we cut out three deaths. Now that's down to 5 minutes. We cut out another three. That's down to 4 minutes, right? So the more deaths that we're cutting out of our gameplay, the more time we're having, and an entire minute can be time for an entire ultimate. The entire minute can be time where you're getting healing and kills
Yeah.
and damage in, and especially healing because you're on support, right? And nades and sleeps. You can do a whole lot with a minute, and that really adds up when it's 6 minutes of gameplay that you're not participating in. So deaths are important. Want to emphasize that we want to make sure we're staying alive, which so far all three of these deaths have mainly been from a lack of positioning. And then also notice again here how we just kind of don't nade ourselves, right? We kind of are really delayed with the nade on ourselves. Like right here, we can just like look down and nade at the ball, and this would hit us and ball because it would like kind of explode off of him. But we kind of react slowly. We're still healing Ryan, and then nade comes late. All right. So nade, not nading ourselves right. We're not behind cover, and then that's resulting in a whole lot of deaths. And when our survivability is super low, that means we're not doing anything, right? We're missing out on a
Yeah.
whole lot of missed opportunities, and we're losing the game because of it. So, we're 17 minutes in. So far, what I'm looking at, just as a quick strengths and weaknesses,
Mhm.
ability usage. Honestly, probably some of the best that I've seen. Like usually, um, people that I coach, ability usage is a big thing on
Yeah.
Ana because I really emphasize that abilities are super important on Ana, and you want to go for anti nades, and you want to go for sleeps. And I have to always tell people how to actually do that properly. But so far, we're actually looking for active anti nades, and we're landing most of our abilities when we're trying to go for them. Like here, we landed the sleep, we landed the sleep a second time, we've landed multiple anti nades. So honestly, ability usage has it has its downsides here. I think we need to be making sure we're paying attention to our health and heal nading a little bit more. But then the big problem is ultimately coming down to positioning because that's kind of just a band aid for it. Um,
Mhm.
so that one doing all right, right? Not perfect, but doing good. Ultimate usage, I saw one of them. It wasn't. We didn't hold on to it. It wasn't the worst. Again, doing all right. That one I'll have to keep an eye on because I want to see more of them.
Yeah.
Positioning, doing terrible so far. Probably
Yeah.
the one that is looking like it needs a whole lot of work, and we'll do positioning slash survivability kind of as the category, because so far it's like, there's a bunch of different things that can go into survivability, but so far it's looking like positioning being the major one that's resulting in our deaths. So positioning slash survivability. Awareness usually takes a longer time to kind of show itself, and to to know if you struggle with it or how much you struggle with it. So far, I'd say that one's looking maybe in the medium category, mainly because we're just not aware of our health bars, and we're kind of reacting a little bit slowly, and not nading ourselves when we need it. So that's maybe the only thing I'd see so far with awareness. And then finally, mechanics. Not perfect, but again, doing all right. I'd probably say mechanics is looking slightly more solid than our ability usage, even. So mechanics looking like maybe the best thing so far. Ability usage second best thing. Ultimates I need to see more of. Awareness need to see more of, and then positioning looking like the big major thing.
Okay. All
right. So yay, another fight that we lost. So
yeah.
it's always a. And then sorry, I missed out a whole kind of a part on that when talking about our deaths is how do you self improve, right? How you get better on your own, because I don't want even though that'd be fantastic, I don't want you to have to continuously come back to me for coaching day after day, or sorry, not day after day, but week after week after week. That wouldn't be very efficient. So instead, it's a good way to learn how to self improve and to get better on your own. So basically, how I did that. So kind of my secret to success, and I never got coaching up until I had already hit my peak in the game. So I went from silver 1800 to 4468, basically with this little kind of 3-step process where I would try to find and identify a mistake. That's step one, is identify the mistake, right? What did I do wrong? So that's deaths are a big way to do that, because deaths are very big obvious mistakes, and usually they're pretty easy to identify what you did wrong. You can, in a death, you could have been in poor positioning. Most of them we did here, you could have misused your abilities. Most of them we did here, you could have had poor awareness, which not maybe a tiny little bit, but not that's not the big one so far. And you could also be like too aggressive, is another thing. Um, so those are the main categories. So you identify what the mistake is. You identify like what did I do wrong. I know I died, but why did I die? The second step is identifying the solution. So what could I have done instead, or what could I have done better? So if we died because we were out of positioning, we could ask ourselves, where could I have stood instead? So if we're out in the open, we should just tell ourselves, okay, I probably should have been next to cover, which would have looked something like on the right side, right, or on a high ground, or something of the sort. If we're dying because we didn't use nade, we'd go, okay, next time I need to make sure I'm paying attention using my nade. And then that brings us into the third step, which is the application, right, and making sure next time that we're actually applying what we're talking about, and next time we're trying to actively stand next to cover, and making sure we're paying attention to our positioning and paying attention to our nades, especially when they repeat. Look for patterns, things that happen over and over and over again, because so far, if this death thing has happened 3 times, I almost guarantee it's going to happen more times than that, because it's just a pattern that keeps continuing, and that means there's a very big major problem that just keeps happening. If you can cut that problem in half, it's going to be a lot better to work on than, let's say, something that you're just a little bit inconsistent at, right? Your mechanics, right? You're just a little bit inconsistent at your mechanics, just like everyone else is, but that doesn't mean that that's what you want to work on when you're dying all the time, and that's your big problem. So that's how you look to self-improve. Watch your deaths. Think about what you could be doing better.
Fair.
All right. Oh, almost a good sleep. All right. Notice how we're out in the open again, though. Like here, we're running away from the mines, but so I think that's fine. Just trying to think of what we could have done here. So we're getting healed up. That's good.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
And make sure we're paying attention to our Reinhardt. Right, we can't forget about him, even if a ball's on top of us, because here we actually aren't under too much pressure by the ball. Right, we actually get healed up, and now ball is fine. If you look over at Reinhardt on our left, he's actually half HP, and we could very pretty easily heal him up here, but because of the fact that we're not paying attention to the Reinhardt until it's too late, he ends up
Yeah.
dying, right? So here we're not aware of the Reinhardt just by a second or two, right? Second and a half, something like that, and then that awareness leads to him dying. So that wasn't we saw him, we reacted. It was just a slow reaction, which just means that that's a slight awareness thing. Was just we want to react faster, make sure we're
Yeah.
paying attention to Reinhardt. We really have to pay attention to our front line because they're the ones taking the most damage in the game, because they're being shot at the most. So they're gonna get shredded very very fast if we take time to look away from them. So we have to be very careful that we're paying attention.
Fair.
Right. Yeah. So when it comes to, it seems like we've been hitting them a little bit. Though I would say that we might want to be scoping more so at this range on the hog. So in terms of why that is, first off, I guess why don't we leave this for game real quick? We're at 4 minutes, right? Just talk about ranges real quick, because yeah, it did look like you're shooting a little bit far away there, and then you said you think you shoot a little bit far away as well with the unscoped. So we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each. So scoping in, right? You get an instant shot, right? That means that instead of it being a projectile, right, whereas the travel time is actually going instantly, right? So this does two different things. First off, it means that the person you're trying to heal is actually getting their healing faster than by that the further away you're getting, this could actually be equivalent to like half a second to a whole second, right? Which means that it could be time where you're saving your life from dying, right? The other thing, that probably even bigger than that, is that it's just gonna be a whole lot easier to land a instant shot at a range than to hit a projectile at a range, because you have to predict where someone's walking, and that's hard to do at a range because you have to predict. They basically could be moving in so many more directions than when they're right next to you, right? Whereas if we're instant shotting, we just have to aim straight at them. The other thing is that this is going to scope you in, which is going to mean that you're zoomed in, or you're things that are closer to you are actually easier to hit, right? It's much harder to hit that target than it is to hit this target, right? Because this thing's right next to us, this target's not right next to us, so it'll be a lot harder to hit when they're not that close to us, right? So scoping in is going to give us a zoom. On top of that, it lowers our sensitivity. So when we're scoped in, again, that's another bonus, is that when we have a little bit lower of a sensitivity, I usually think that's like a third, right? Which means that it's going to be a lot easier to hit this shot and be more precise, right? We get precision with our shots. So scopes, it has a lot of advantages at a range. So usually the ranges at like which you're going to be using them, and honestly, I'd say like as long as you're good with your unscoped shots, this is like you can do it a little bit farther than this, but for the most part, this is what I tell people is on squishy targets. So anything that's not a tank, from that person to us, this is an unscoped shot range, right? Anything past that is scoped in. Though, like I said, if you're good at it and you're confident in it, right, because you've had so much practice in it, that can go maybe like 5 meters longer. I'd say maybe like you wouldn't want to do anything past this, right? Now on a tank, that's going to be 15 meters, right, from here to there on a tank, because they have bigger hitboxes. And then maybe, again, like I said, if you're a little bit more confident in it, then you can go up to 20. But this is like kind of a max range on anybody. If you're past this, you should be almost exclusively scoping in, right? And then times where you wouldn't be, if you feel like you're under pressure, then you'd be quick scoping, because we didn't talk about quick scoping, but quick scoping, the advantages of it are the fact that you can be keeping your mobility and keeping your visibility and still getting the instant shot. If you're trying to hit a shot at a range, this is going to be really effective. If you're under pressure, or if you're trying to keep moving while you're shooting, right, and you're trying to cover a lot of distance, right, that's where quick scoping is effective. Though it's not going to be used very often. I'd probably say it's like 10% of the time, maybe even a little bit less than that. All right, that all makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So we are back on Numani.
Traveling to Numbani. Ready for battle.
So we're at 4 minutes here. So we have another nano, so I want to see what we do with this.
I will keep you healed. Heal up. You're powered up. Get in there.
Alright, make sure paying attention to Hog's health. Or it's not health, I apologize, a different word. Make sure paying attention to Hog's ult charge, as he doesn't have his ult yet, and I'm not super confident here. Maybe he does land a big fat hit on the ball or something, but I'm not super confident that he's actually gonna get his ult if he's 90% away. So when Hog is a fantastic nano target when he has his ult because it's a pretty good ult combo to go for, but he's pretty garbage when he doesn't have his ult because he requires skill shots, and most characters that require you to precisely aim a shot are not something you want to nano, even at a super high rank. It's not something that's as good. It's a little bit better, but it's not as good as someone who does consistent damage. So if you think of any good nano target, most of them are going to have consistent, easy to get output. So Reinhardt, consistent, easy to get output. Winston, consistent, easy to get output. Ultimate combos, right? Visor, Blade, High Noon, Barrage, consistent, easy to get output. It's not a skill shot, right? So Hog here, he might get some value out of it, but I probably would say that it would either be better to go for a different person or just to wait a couple extra seconds until he has his ult. Then we can nano him. On top of that, he's not seeming to be in much of a position to use his ult anyways, as there's nobody next to him, right? When he's ulting, he kind of wants to be close to something so that he can actually,
Right.
get value out of his ults. Kind of the same way where, like, imagine this is I probably say you're nanoing him at a similar range. Imagine he's at the same range as the Reinhardt, right? Whereas you wouldn't nano Reinhardt here because he's going to have to sprint at them from so far away that half the nano is going to be gone by the time he gets there, right? Or they could just keep running away from him and he never reaches them. So in this instance, I'd probably say this is a little too early. He's not in range of anything, and this would either be better off on a Doomfist or Reinhardt, or you could just wait a little bit longer for the Roadhog to get back. So that's just what I would say to this one. Good sleeps again. Sleep stuff actually looked really, really on point. Maybe only thing I would say is like sometimes you hold on, like the ball will be like kind of rolling around us and we just kind of go for the sleep on him a little bit late. But besides that, we've been hitting a lot of them. So really, really good sleeps. Make sure that when we're low that we're requesting healing. Now we actually got healing. So two things here. First off, we could have maybe grabbed the health pack there, just on our left.
True.
Other thing is that we just don't request healing when we probably could get this from Bat pretty easily. He's on our right side right now. Right, so just make sure when we're low, we're requesting healing. That way we don't have to use nade, and maybe we could also back up to the health pack, and then that way we actually are coming in with full HP, right? You know as a support, when someone requests healing, you can hear where on the map they are, what character they are, and you're gonna be able to heal them a lot easier. Right, so let's see, what's Hog do with it? So looks like he just won the fight anyways, but like as I said, he didn't even get his ult off of it, right? He didn't really do much. So it's just difficult for a Hog to do it. Most of the time you're not gonna want to.
Thank you.
Alright, we swapping?
Yeah.
Alright.
No one can hide from my sight.
Really good whip shot. Nice packs. That's unfortunate. So 75% of deaths you're gonna be able to like do something about and fix and improve on. Other 25%, not much you could do. Here I'd say that you didn't really make any mistakes. You just got caught out by an ult combo, right? Not a whole lot we could have done there.
Okay.
All right.
This was a weird game.
Make sure we're not wasting too many. We want to at least. I want to see how we go about this, but we want to make sure we're just letting our packs recharge for the fight. At the moment, it's seeming like we're using a whole lot of them. Also, now we're on a pretty terrible support lineup, so this isn't necessarily your fault because he swapped to Lucio second. So just in this comp, you maybe like if you see this happening after this next fight when you use rally, you probably just want to go and swap. Because this is very very little healing, and it's not going to be doing much for you guys. But at the same time, you also have a hog, so that means you have to heal a little bit less. But I'd probably say it's still very low healing. All right, so coming into this next fight, right, they're starting to poke a little bit. We're starting to do some stuff, and we have 0 packs. Most of the time, you're gonna want to make sure you're coming into the fight with packs. So let them go grab health packs. Let the Lucio heal people up. Try to at least you can use some packs, but try to be coming into the fight with like a full 3, because that's when people are actually going to need the packs, right? They like might need the packs, in between fights, but it's not as necessary, and it's not as extremely as it's not an emergency. So this is just much better timing to have them, and here we just don't. So just make sure we're holding on to, or we're trying to recharge them before the fight happens, which we don't here. Unfortunately, he just got purpled. Nice bash. Okay, I like that we're using our whip shot off a cooldown here. That's really good. That's just something you want to keep up. So again, just keep on doing that ability. So you're looking pretty decent. Besides, so far, bash and whip shot looked fine. We've been hitting them, and then maybe the health packs needing a little bit of work. And then that death. Here I'd say we're a little bit far back and passive. We probably wanted to be charging our ult here, but instead we're really far back. Kind of notice how far back we are in comparison to like a Reinhardt. Most of the time when you're a break, you're pretty much hugging your Reinhardt, because this also puts us in range for whip shots, which is gonna get us our inspire going, which is going to allow us to actually heal and get our ult charge, which means that we want to actually have our ult by the time this fight starts. So us kind of doing this trek where we're running around in the back line means that we're just missing out on a lot of time where we could be charging our ult, and then we're too far away to hit the whip shot, and then we kind of run around the Widowmaker, and then we can't get her. So, and then here maybe we could have whip shot it again, but just to, like on the ball after you hit him a couple times, just boop him away. But besides that, like had we just hit 1 or 2 more whip shots at the beginning of the fight, maybe we'd have had our ult here, and that means we'd have a bigger advantage in this fight.
Right.
So maybe just a little bit passive to start off the fight, but besides that, after that, not much we could have done. All right. So far, I don't think that the last 3 were nearly as bad as the first 3 deaths, but we still kind of have a consistent 1 death a minute thing. So survivability still seeming like a big thing to work on, as coming in like ending 1 round with 6 deaths isn't a good death rate to have. I think it was 6. I don't might have, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like that. All right, so we're back on the Ana.
Take your medicine. This will help.
All right. Here we're kind of running straight into them. Maybe not the strat we want to do when hanging back here gives us the exact same angles to heal our team. We're able to use shoot at people if we wanted to shoot at the people. We don't really necessarily need to be running in guns blazing as an Ana. So here we're kind of, I probably say our aggression
Bad
is out of
positioning.
whack, right? Where we're just getting, go ahead. What do you say?
Bad positioning.
Yeah, I probably say this is more of like, this is where you'd categorize it as aggression, because it's, yes, we're in bad positioning, but that bad positioning is because in our brain we're thinking I gotta run forwards, right? Which is an aggression thing, right? Of how aggressive are we playing versus how passive are we playing. So here we're just playing way too aggressive when we probably should not be playing this aggressive, and then that's, I would imagine, here gonna lead to our death, because we have a turret on a BAP, Torb, and a Pharah all looking at us, and we're out in the open, right?
Yeah.
So, oh, you can't sleep
I
turrets.
just yes. I know that. Luckily.
My team still needs
I think I just saw something shooting at me and freaked out. And
Yep. All right, and then we
didn't
lose the
expect
fight.
turret there.
So,
Yeah.
yep, aggression, awareness, and then positioning, right? Kind of all mixed in there.
You're going to be okay.
Alright, this is unfortunate. So coming in here, trying to
You're going
think,
to be
what
okay.
could we have done? So first off here, when we see that these guys don't need healing, don't be afraid to turn around and start shooting at the Pharah, because we seem to be healing nothing here. On top of that, whenever we see that, let's see, we need, and then Reinhardt's critical. Honestly, Ryan, this is kind of on Reinhardt, because he was kind of standing still, and then he also pushes in when he has 0 HP here, which means that we just don't have any healing left for him. So we missed like 1 or 2 shots, but for the most part, that's on him. Don't feel like we have to go and suicide in to try to save people. So here we just kind of run forward. It's a little bit too far when it's pretty obvious that he's gonna die here, especially when we have to reload. So again, survivability, where here we maybe could have just stayed alive longer, which us staying alive longer would have meant that maybe we can turn around and help kill the Pharah, because as Ana, we're actually a pretty good counter to Pharah, especially if she's out in the open and super far away from getting back to her team, and she doesn't have any healing, and she's again not next to any cover, so it means that we can shoot at her and kill her pretty easily. Which means that now we're even instead of being down a person. So it's just another thing to consider, is that we kind of run in and suicide when he dies, and then we run in, right? It's just kind of a slight delay there. And then being aware of the fact that he's probably going to die because he's 1 HP running into them and we don't have
This
healing.
happiness hasn't finished.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're coming up on our
And I have
Nano.
this mini.
We have a whole hog. We have an EMP, Bob, right? Okay, so here it's going to depend on who's in range of what. I probably wouldn't go with Ash. I wouldn't go with Sombra. I wouldn't go with Zenyatta, right? But then Reinhardt or Hog would depend on like who's more in the action, right? Who's doing stuff? Like
Yeah.
it could also be who needs healing more and the damage reduction more. That could also play a part in it. So both the tanks here I'd probably say are pretty good options.
Enemy turret here.
I've seen it. You're going to live.
Okay. Awareness, we're just again slightly late to notice that he's low and in need of healing, so we want to make sure we're paying attention. Also here we miss a bunch of shots. So here, yeah, we just don't notice that the hog's low, so that's an awareness thing of making sure we're looking around us, right? Making sure we're paying attention to where both our teammates are at, because um, they're our responsibility to take care of, right? We're the healer. It's our job to take care of Reinhardt and Hog, and if we don't see that Hog's low, that's on us, right? It's not on Hog. I mean, it could be a little bit on Hog, but keep in mind that even if our team's doing stupid stuff, it's still what we're still trying to look at what we're doing wrong, because there's always something we could have done better, or almost always something we could have done better, right?
I've seen it. You're going to live.
So slightly late on the reaction, unscoping a little bit too far.
EMP activated.
You're powered down. Get
Good.
in there.
I think that's a good nano. That we are slight. Like again, it seems like every reaction to something is slightly slow. We kind of
Right.
react slightly slow to the fact that we have a mines on top of us. Like here, we see the ball rolling in. We hear the mines. He slams.
You're powered
Yeah, we
down.
kind
Get
of
in
like
there.
don't notice until it's too late. Also, when you're in a mines, make sure, like, if we see that we're just flat up in the middle of the mines, we are nowhere close to getting out, just stand still. This is going to stop you, give you the best chance of surviving, because you might end up actually in between them, or you might end up hitting one and then just not ricocheting to others. So stand still if you find yourself in the middle of them. And then again, notice how we're kind of out in the open in the middle, whereas being slightly further back, if we need to heal, this is a really bad place for your team to be trying to push through. But if your team's making you come through, um we have a couple different options. We can maybe come top, because notice how they all drop from the high ground, right? So let's see
Yeah.
at what point do they drop from the high ground. Oh, why did come TPLs back to spawn? So they actually, most of them drop from high ground pretty fast here. Now Far is patrolling the left side, but there's a good chance we could duel her as well, right? But let's see, when does Sigma drop? All right, so he drops actually pretty late. So at this point, right, we could be up on high ground, right, and have much better visibility of everything that's happening, much better positioning, ability to do everything. So that's an option that we could have in our arsenal, is to just go a different direction from our team and take the high ground. The other thing is maybe just not standing in the middle of the open here. We could potentially look at this whole area where this is kind of free and out in the open. We could, come in over here, and now this is much safer because we're inside. We can see our team. When it comes to on a specific position, now we'll just go over 2 of them for now because I don't think we've been struggling too much with a third. But when it comes to positioning on Ana, you will basically have 3 check boxes. We're going to just talk about 2 of them. First one is, can we see our team? The second one is, can the enemy team see us? Most of the time, we don't want the enemy team to see us if we're just flat up healing, which is a lot of the time we're not doing a very good job of that. Right? If we're healing our team, there's absolutely no reason why the enemy team needs to be able to see us. So, for example, this would check both boxes because we can heal these 2 guys, but the enemy team can't see us, or at least we can see as many. You always want to be able to see as many teammates as possible. Main here would be able to see maybe some extra people, but it's also going to mean that we're going to die, which means that we can't do anything at all. So we could push further in, take in here, we could be further back, and being further back would maybe put us out of line of sight of some more people and give us cover to use. And that's another option because the only person that put us out of line of sight of is the Sombra, which, again, if it means staying alive a little bit longer, don't be afraid to put yourself out of line of sight of like one person, right? Unless you know that you can get away with being out in the open. But here we can't. We just end up dying because we're out in the open, not near any cover. So again, positioning playing a factor. But I think that was also a pretty good Nano. So Nano looking pretty solid there. I like that we're not like on that Nano. I like that we're not holding on to it. I like that we're using it pretty early in fights. We're not, we're looking for good situations to use them. So far Nanos look pretty good. Make sure when people don't need healing that we're reloading, right? That way we actually have ammo for when they do need healing. So here we're going to notice that, we shoot a whole lot of shots. We go pew, 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 pew. Reiner and Hog are not in need of healing at all, right? They're not going to die. Like, if we reloaded right now, they would not die. But if we keep on shooting and we run out of ammo when they're actually being shot at and killed, now we're going to be down at like 4 ammo, and that means that we're going to be forced to reload while they're actually low. So anytime we have the opportunity where we have a lull in time where we don't have anything to shoot at, or we can get away with a reload, we want to reload so we actually have ammo. I think sometimes we're not reloading enough, and then that's causing us to... now, if you have something to actively shoot at, right, if you are actively shooting at an enemy, if you're actively healing a teammate who actually needs healing, then don't reload. But if you have this opportunity to reload, because I maybe say in a second here, we might see the struggle of that, because like now we're at 3 shots and the fight's actually starting. Hogs won. All right.
I just whipped my abilities.
Yeah, so let's rewatch that, because that was, oh snap, stinging. I always try to go for the pause and then it doesn't work. All right, so I think we're right here. Alright, so we were trying to get the Sigma, and then we hit a shield. Then we're trying to go for the Pharah, and then she was dead. And then here we run out in the open, which maybe isn't the place we want to be going. So here, yeah, it stinks because the Sigma's shooting at us, but I think honestly staying right here, try to put him out of line of sight might be the best option for us. Or maybe even hugging the Hog, but we actually run out in the open right back here, which puts us in line of sight of Sigma and the Torbjorn. But actually we got away with it, so that was pretty fine of a decision. I'm not going to complain too much about that. Though now we have to actually get out for it to not be good there. Alright, so we made it. Make sure requesting healing, that way you're coming into the fight with full HP, not a little bit lower on HP. That's another part of awareness, right? When you get shot at, hit that your health bar, because we know that we actually took damage and we got shot at. Good job backing away from it. But again, notice how we're coming into the fight, shooting so much that we're reloading at the time where Hog's 1 HP, right? So again, reload habits. Pretty good nade. Don't try to hit people directly with it though. Try to hit feet in between people. So if we're trying to hit Reinhardt and Roadhog, we throw it right here, smack dab in between them. Because here, it's not actually going to reach Reinhardt because it's just too far over towards the Roadhog. Also, notice it's also going to be a lot harder to hit people directly than it is to hit the floor because the radius is just, pay attention to the fact that look at that radius. That's much, much bigger than Hog's hitbox himself. So that nade becomes a lot easier if you're hitting the floor rather than someone directly. Also,
Wait, that purple is the hitbox of the nade?
yep.
That's the nade?
Yeah, I believe so. Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay,
So,
that's a lot bigger than I thought it was.
yeah. So then on top of that, notice how we're out in the open once again, right?
Yeah.
This is completely like if you're wanting to push in with your tanks, do it, but don't push in after your tanks, right? If you're trying to get super aggro here, I guess actually I guess we're trying to back up a little bit because of the Sigma flux. So maybe let's rewatch this. All right, but I'm just saying maybe we gotta hug them a little bit harder because we're not even right on top of them here, right at this point when maybe we should be on top of them. He fluxes. Look how far away that flux is from you. Just keep in mind that we might, if we're trying to cross and go in with our team, we might want to be a little bit closer, right? So maybe like right up here, so that as soon as the flux happens, we can now start running through. They're going to be looking at the guys up in the air, might not be even looking at you. But if we're trying to cross through, that's not a too terrible of a plan. I think it's maybe not the best plan, but it's not terrible. But we want to cross with our team. If we're not trying to cross with our team, then we just want to make sure we're not walking out into the open, because here we kind of just come out and sit on the open, right? And then now our team, we might be able to pretty easy targets to shoot from there. Again, out in the open, and then now we're getting into more awareness, are we? Yep. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. Now we're getting to more awareness. How to know whether or not you're winning or losing a fight? So how to know whether or not you're winning or losing a fight is going to depend on the kill feed most of the time. There's a bunch of other factors, but for now we're just going to go over kill feed because it's one of the most important ones. Kill feed, the top right corner of your screen, tells you when you're up or down people. When you are up 1 to 2 people, that's an advantage. When you have an advantage, you can afford to play more aggressive with your positioning and your playstyle because they have less people to shoot at you and punish you and heal and tank and damage. Now, when you're up 2 to 3 people, that is a 1 fight. Now, when you've won a fight, ulting is a big no-no because that's just a waste of it because it's overkill. You would have won the fight anyways, and the ultimate doesn't do anything. So in this instance, where we're ulting, it's a 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, I thought 5, including ourselves. I forgot about ourselves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Versus 1, 2, 3. Which means that in this fight we are up 2 and at a pretty significant advantage, and we're probably gonna win it, right? Which means the nano probably isn't gonna be needed, right? It's just kind of overkill here. So in this, okay, I was just checking, turret's broken. So that's just what we want to pay attention to. Now, when we've also won a fight, we want to play super aggressive. That way we can get stagger kills. This also goes the exact opposite way when we're down 1 to 2. That means that we're at a disadvantage, right? And we might want to play a little bit more passive, though we didn't lose the fight. We just are losing the fight, right? So we don't want to fully back out. Now, when we're down 2 to 3, that is a lost fight, and at that point, we're not using ults because that's, again, wasting it, where if you already lost the fight, ulting is not going to change the fact that you lost it, and then on top of that, you want to look to back out if possible, and if you can't back out, then look to regroup, right? So in this instance, Nano probably just isn't going to get a whole lot of value, right? You get 1 kill, but you're probably going to get that kill anyways.
Right.
Fortunate, she ran away from you. Good nade. Alright, then we got it.
Enemy turret here. Healing enough. An help with the minion.
EMP activated.
Alright, so you get mined. Make sure paying attention to where ball is. That's going to allow us to stop ourselves from getting mined by paying attention to him. So if we're paying attention to our environment, so we see ball roll through. We see ball rolling around. Let's see, he's rolling behind us, right? So here, what can we do to escape mines? Well, we just run forwards, right? Because look at where you are in comparison to the mines. If we ran forwards right now, we could just get out of this, right? So this is again an awareness thing. If so, to clarify, because this is looking like awareness is coming up as kind of our second runner, or our number 2 for what we need to work on. When it comes to awareness, right? If we have poor awareness and we don't know what's happening around us, we are incapable of making good decisions, right? If you don't know there's a mine right behind you, you're going to run into the mine. If you don't know that there's an open spot in front of you, then you're not going to take the open spot, because poor awareness means you make poor decisions. When you have good awareness, now that allows you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will make good decisions, though I like to think that most of the time people will. When you have good awareness, that means that you're going to be capable of making good decisions. So good decision making comes out of good awareness. And at the moment, we're just not aware of the fact where mines are, where ball was, and how we can get out of this. And we end up walking backwards rather than forwards. And then that puts us smack dab in the middle of the mines, right? Now, oh, actually, snap, we're running out of time here. So why don't we go to the practice range? Because now we're going to go over I'm slightly late on this. Usually I give myself like an extra 2 minutes here. But this is going to be the review and as well as the main points of what we talked about. And then finally, kind of where we're going for the wrap up of the session. So first off, ability usage. Sleeps really, really good. Only thing I'd maybe say is the fact that sometimes you hold on to them a little bit. Again, it's just like, it's kind of like with everything else, where like we kind of have we always notice the thing, but it's a slightly slow reaction time. So sometimes there'll be like a ball rolling around right next to us, and then we'll just like kind of see him, and then wait a little bit, and then we'll sleep him, right? Whereas we could just sleep him instantly and then just get back to what we were doing, which would mean that he's able to like do shenanigans in your backline a lot less. Nade, little more work needed in our Nade. And Nade is a little bit more of an important ability than Sleep is, but Nade, just make sure we're we're paying attention to our health bar and healing ourselves more when we're low and in danger and we need it. But that's usually just not in all situations, but a lot of times that's just a band-aid, especially in the situations that we're looking at, is like that would just help keep us alive after we already had bad positioning. But in any case, just look to heal ourselves more often and look to hit the ground in between as many people as you can get, not just hitting people directly, so that we can hit multiple people, right? Also in front in yourself as well. Sometimes we just like we have like this and we toss it at them rather than at the floor in between yourselves, so you'd both get it, right? On top of that, real quick, we didn't talk about this tech, but we'll go over it real quick. How to land long distance nades is you scope in, right? This doesn't work if you're unscoped. You're going to take your ult charge, you're going to line that up with an enemy, and that's going to hit them from any height, any range, but you're not going to use it when you're right next to somebody. Right? Now, when we're on even footing with them, we're going to use our Q there at the bottom. Or they're on a little slight slope here, but we're going to use our Q there, and then that hits them from that range, right?
Wow.
Yep, that way we can land some better nades. But besides that as well, just make sure paying attention to things that can block it. And then, is that it? I think that's it. But for the most part, we hit them well enough. And I like that we went for anti-nades and we weren't just going for healing nades. There were some situations like just make sure being aware again. Sometimes we just go for healing nades on people when it wasn't necessary, so just pay attention to that, right? When is a healing nade necessary? Somebody could be critical and standing over here right behind the cover. Are they in danger? Right? No,
Yeah.
because they, because of the fact that they're safe. So you just want to make sure that we're paying attention to if they actually need the nade or not, and if they don't, then hold on to it so you can use it for the anti. Now moving on, ultimate usage. Honestly, just the only problem we had was just ulting in a one fight, and that's the only nade I saw, or the only ult I saw. Oh, sorry. I take that back. I forgot the other one. We had another one on the hog, when he was
right?
he was too far away, right? And also didn't have his ult, so just make sure paying attention to that. So nade, sorry, our ultimate, sorry, just a little bit inconsistent. Not the best, not the worst, but pretty low on the list. For the most part, we had really good timing with it. I like the timing that we had. It just one time was in a one fight. One time we mistimed it a little bit. All right. Mechanics, not too many problems. We talked about when to scope, right? 10 meters on squishy targets, 15 on tanks, and then anything past those are scoped in, right? Besides that, for the most part, we are hitting our shots, and a lot of that's just going to come down to keep playing, keep practicing, not anything in particular in terms of things that I can teach you, right? So now
Yeah.
moving on to the big ones. So positioning. Make sure that we are using high grounds, right? Because all of high grounds act as natural cover, right? On top of that, big one, major one, probably like the biggest thing we talked about is make sure we're using cover, right? If we're standing right here, we're out in the open and we're gonna die here because it takes us a whole lot of, it takes a long time to get over here. Instead, stand over here. Good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. Besides that, I think that is pretty. Did we have anything else in positioning? Um,
It's quiet time.
Oh, we talked
Uh,
about putting yourself outside of line of sight of the enemy team, right?
yeah.
There's no reason to stand right here to heal these guys if we're just healing them, right? If we're just healing them, then we come standing over here, right? That way the enemy team can't see us, then we're not getting sniped or shot at, and we're not dying. Whereas if we're looking for a sleep or a nade, then we just peek and go for a sleep, go for a nade, and then we're back to healing, right? So if you're ever doing something else besides healing, then you can peek them. But if you're just healing, try to put them out of your line of sight. All right.
Okay.
Now, moving on to awareness. There's a whole lot of things that go into our awareness, so let's just go through them real quick. HUD watching, make sure paying attention to our health bar so that we can actually nade when we need healing and pay attention to when we do need healing and requesting healing as well, or grabbing a health pack, because a lot of times we were just sitting at low HP and we didn't do anything about it, right? And then that caused us to die sometimes, and we come into fights at low HP. On top of that, make sure that we are paying attention to kill feed, right? Because that resulted in that one fight where we lost. We just talked about it recently, and we're running out of time here, so I'm not going to go into depth on that. But,
Yeah.
watch kill feed, right? On from there, let's see, what else was there in awareness? Make sure paying attention to our teammates, because a whole lot of times we'd like look away from a tank for like 2 seconds and we look back and the tank's dead, right?
Yeah.
So we just want to make sure we're constantly keeping tabs on all of our teammates and we're paying attention to them. So in-game awareness of where's the enemy team, right, and where's our team. Because on top of that, we also just sometimes lose track of where the enemy team was, like especially the ball, and he just kind of roll up right
Yeah.
next to us, and then we'd be like, oh, that is a ball, right? So we just want to make sure we're paying attention to in-game characters and where they're positioned, and making sure we're paying attention to their health bars. That's another one. Is health bars going to tell us whether or not we need nades. It's going to tell us whether or not we need to be healing right now or reloading. That's another one. That's just paying attention to reload habit. And then besides that, I think that is pretty much it when it comes to awareness. So main points, number 1's coming in at positioning, number 2's coming in at awareness, number 3 I'm going to put at ability usage, and then number 4 I'm going to put at your ult usage, and then number 5 is mechanics. All right.
Okay.
Any questions about anything we've talked about?
Nap time.
No. Well, we're out of time, so it's fine.
No, I mean it's fine. I usually go over with people if this part takes a little bit longer. But if you have questions, feel free to ask them.
Is it ever like, so I think what I did with the hog was like, I thought we were gonna lose a fight, so I think I my mess up with the hog. I think my mindset was nano him so he gets his ult quicker, and then like sometimes I feel like I nano people so they get their ult quicker. Is that not the play?
That's completely fine, but only on specific characters. Like again, that's not really too great of an idea just like on a skill shot character. Like any character that requires you to be hitting shots isn't a character you want to be nanoing. So for example, Ashe, not most hit scan characters, not Ashe, not going to want a nano. Hanzo, not going to want a nano. Kree, not going to want a nano unless he has high noon. Not going to want a nano Soldier unless he has visor. Not going to want a nano Widowmaker, right? Not going to want a nano Sombra or Tracer most of the time, because they require you to have aim when it's just not as consistent. Because basically what that means is that when you have a consistent damage source, so like think of Monkey, who it's very hard to hit a Tesla. It can hit multiple different things, and it's very easy to use, and it's very consistent. It's coming out in a big stream. When you nano that means that the boost is getting out there all the time consistently to multiple different things very easily. Same thing with the Reinhardt. So you want to look for consistency in it, and most of the time that's okay. I probably say the best character you can do that with is a character like Genji, as if you nano him and he has dash available and he's like, let's say you can nano Genji honestly when he's at max 80%, but you can nano him even when he's at like 85, 90%. He could
Okay.
dash through like 2 or 3 people and have his blade off of that, right?
Right.
So that one might have to be a little bit coordinated. So maybe only like if you're talking with a Genji, but besides that, or you could just say, make him go in a little bit early. But in any case, it is okay sometimes in some situations, but not. You don't want to nano a bad character just to give them their ult, especially like when we saw that Hog just missed every single shot and didn't do anything with a nano, right?
Yeah.
Now if you were losing the fight, that might be a okay nano because it's a tank and it's all right, and you don't want to lose the fight. But I don't think that fight was looking too lost. Like it was maybe like evenish, and you had time. Like our both teams weren't even engaging. Like they were like any team was there, our team was like over here, right? You had some distance in between yourselves, and you had time to wait. Now if the fight was like full blown going, and you feel like you're about to lose, then go ahead and use nano. All right. Any other questions?
No, I appreciate it.
All right. So then I'm going to end the
I'll let you go.
recording.